Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. It's come out how much Margaret Ferrier has cost the taxpayers of this country ever since she broke parliamentary rules up until she is finally thrown out of Parliament. It will come to a figure that is in excess of £500,000. She's earned £500,000. Well, not she hasn't earned that, but the total cost of the taxpayer is over £500,000 because she couldn't obey the rules that she brought in. She couldn't stay at home and do what the rest of us were forced to do. £500,000. Well, I hope they bill her for it. We'll take a look at this. It's an astounding amount, but we'll take a look at this and see what it's come to. But to see why she thinks that she's so entitled that she could have done all this and got away with it and then appealed it, rather than just going, yes, I've broke the rules, sit down, shut up and take her biscuits. Honestly, here we go. So, shamed ex-SMP and soon to be ex-MP, Margaret Ferrier has cost taxpayers more than £500,000 since the criminal COVID incident. The Rutherglen and Hamilton West MP could be about to be booted out of the House of Commons, but not before taxpayers pick up a hefty £561,000 bill for her. I think it's entirely likely she'll be booted out. She does have this by-election coming. She is allowed to stand on it. Of course, she can stand up there and ask the good inhabitants of Rutherglen and Hamilton West to vote her back in. I suspect they'll be minded not to do so, given that she brought in rules for them that she was incapable of following, and the fact that she hasn't really been representing them properly ever since that incident. She's actually lucky not to have gone to jail, to be honest. But you think £561,000 down the Swanee because that woman couldn't obey the rules that she voted on bringing in. Anyway, shamed former SNP MP Margaret Ferrier has cost the taxpayers more than £500,000 after she clung on to her cushy Westminster seat despite being convicted of a COVID crime. The disgraced nationalist politician was suspended from the House of Commons for 30 days on Tuesday after a vote was held to decide on her punishment. Now, I don't agree with all the stuff that went on in COVID. I think a lot of it was pointless, a lot of it I disagreed with entirely. But because she was the one who was bringing the rules in that case, I have got no sympathy. I would have sympathy for people up the road, people I know, people who had to travel, had to go and see relatives. I've got sympathy for them. But I have no sympathy for the buggers that bring in these rules and then sit there above us all because they're far too grand to obey the rules like us mere mortals. So she gets all she deserves. But I don't think we should be on the hook for that money. She should be charged. She should have to find that. And if it means she has to sell her house, so be it. Anyway, it means she is now liable for a recall petition to be held in her constituency. A total of 10% of the voters must sign it to oust her from her seat. And as I've said before, just to regurgitate really, but I will just say that both Labour and the Conservatives have been out. They've been contacting their supporters and they both say they can both muster the required 10%. So it's almost a certainty, it's a racing cert that will be a by-election. Anyway, it's now been revealed that she has cost the taxpayers £561,600 and 19 pence in salary and expenses since she admitted to wrongdoing in September 2021. That's getting on what, £280,000 a year? You know, in the 2 years. Not even 2 years, £281,000 a year. Anyway, and if she'd have quit on that day, then the public purse could have saved a significant amount of money. Well, not exactly, because you've got to look that if she'd have quit, you'd have had someone else in her seat doing that and taking that money anyway. But the difference being, it would have been going to someone who didn't break the rules, who wasn't a criminal. Her salary, travel, accommodation and staff expenses have totalled more than $560,000. In the 979 days since her breach came to light, she has been paid £222,555.29 just for her salary alone. Nice work if you can get it. She will not be paid during her suspension, but from the 7th of July will continue to receive her yearly £86,584 wage until the recall petition meets its threshold. So as soon as the people in Rutherglen and Hamilton West get out and sign that, the quicker they can sign it, the quicker they get to their 10%, the quicker we can stop paying her a salary. But she's also racked up $339,000 in expenses. What the hell is she buying? Ferrier pleaded guilty to recklessly exposing the public to the risk of infection, illness and death while travelling, while knowing she had COVID. And she left the House of Commons in London and got a train back to Glasgow after testing positive for the virus. And she knew she had it. And so there is no excuse, and she should have the book thrown at her. And quite right too, but I don't think she should have been paid. Anyway, she appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court last year and was given a 270-hour community payback order. The 62-year-old ignored demands for her to resign, even after she lost the SNP whip, because she needs the money, with Nicola Sturgeon urging her to do so as well. Voters in Rutherglen and Hamilton West will now be given the chance to demand a by-election, with the recall petition running from June the 20th for 6 weeks. I guarantee by about June the 22nd they'll have had that 10% and they'll be whipped out and they'll go. So hopefully, by the beginning, or actually June the 20th, it's not quite the longest day of the year. So hopefully before the solstice, she will be out. And on a side tangent time, I have found myself right up the very, very top of Scotland over the solstice a few years ago. And we sat in a bar, and it was 11 o'clock at night, and the sun was still there. And I was with a pal at the time, and I said, does it ever get dark? And you know what? It doesn't. And I know not even a lot of Scots have been right up the very top. But the sun, it goes down below the horizon, but not very far. And the next thing you know, it's coming up. It actually doesn't get dark. It's a weird thing. Anyway, back from the tangent. Ferrier could stand again, but would do so under a different banner due to her expulsion from the SNP. Also, she'd have to find all the expenses of standing out of her own pocket. Although she's got a very deep pocket if she's getting paid that much. Labour is hopeful that they can reclaim the seat, which would prove to be a crushing first defeat for Humza Yousaf. I think it is almost certainly every prediction, every other pundit you ask says that Labour will get this seat. I certainly, as soon as you heard about this whole thing, I thought, given the trend, it's almost certainly a Labour seat. MPs voted quite heavily in favour of the 30-day suspension, which was recommended by the Standards Commission, with the result being 185 to 37. Although most of those 37 were Conservatives who were hoping to try and stop Boris from having the same punishment. But I suspect if it did go to a by-election for Boris, he would most likely win. Scottish Labour leader Anna Sarwar said her constituents are rightly furious with her behaviour, and he said he was hopeful their rage will be enough to secure the by-election, which, of course, it probably will. He added before it was the SNP that relished elections and Labour feared them. That's now changed in Scotland. Oh, it has completely changed. The SNP cannot afford elections. Every election now, between now and the general election, or the Scottish parliamentary election, so to say, will probably be likely a Labour victory. There's a couple where it actually might be a Tory victory, but predominantly it'll be Labour victories with the odd Tory victory and the odd Liberal Democrat victory. I think nobody wants to even sort of touch the SNP anymore. They're becoming quite toxic, which is good. Conservative MSP Graham Simpson said a by-election is now highly likely in the near future, but she should do the right thing and just resign now. Not while she's earning money, she won't. Scottish Lib Dem leader Alex Cole-Hamilton said not only is this a chance to give Rutherglen and Hamilton West the representation it deserves, it's also to send a message to the new SNP First Minister that people are sick and tired of the divisive and out-up politics that he and his party represent. And I think it is. It's going to be a massive, massive slap in the face for Humza Yousaf when that woman loses her seat. Even though she's not SNP now, she was for a long time and she always voted with them. And so now I think the SNP will get, a spanking and not before time. And it'll be an embarrassment for him. But I think there's a couple more. They've got the local the council elections going as well. They're not likely to do well. And we shall watch every one of them. Anyway, I shall round off and come up. The sooner I can do stories that won't have her face plastered all over them, the better. If she had any decency, which she doesn't, she would have resigned at the first water back 2 years ago. She hung on and hung on because she needs the money, wants to, milk the system as much as she can. And I would ask anyone who's watching this video, and if you live in the Rutherglen or Hamilton West area, please, 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 on the 20th of June, rush out, pen in hand, sign that petition, get it to the 10%. On the day would be spectacular. Get it up there as quick as you can, and let's just stop paying her that massive wage, because she does not deserve it. And I shall round off. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you've seen here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, get ready for an election, it's coming, and goodbye.